Hey, what's up? My name is Severman. I'm an 18-year-old producer from Germany, and in this video I will explain you how I made my latest track in Memories, which was released on EDM Station Network. As you can see, I already opened up the project file, so let's get straight into it. So both musically and technically the track was actually pretty simple to make because it's pretty straightforward and it's not a very complex track. So this is how the melody starts. For that I use these three Nexus presets. Then we've got a piano playing some chords. For my pianos I like to use true pianos because they have a really nice real open sound. This is the channel of the piano. I boosted the highs a little bit. And then we have the low and high cut. A stereo enhancer to widen it up a bit. A filter which I use for automation in the break and in the build up. And then we've got the reverb. Sidechain of course. And then we've got a second sidechain which I used in order to have the top kick pop out a little more in the drop. Alright, then for the bass line in the break I used like a detuned supersaw kind of sound from Nexus. With this one I cut away all the high frequencies and even the mid frequencies already because I only wanted to have that nice bottom end. Adds some really nice warmth to the break and just, you know, gives that bit of low end to it. But I'm using this EQ only on the break, so on the drop I will mute it and you will have the bass playing in the full frequency spectrum. And then another EQ where I boosted the highs for the drop. Then another filter for automation and another EQ where I cut the lows and the highs. But this one is only used in the drop. And then the sidechain again. And then I used this stereo enhancer for automation and the build up. Then we got these like atmospheric plug sounds in the break. Used two Nexus presets for that as well. Then again an EQ to cut the lows and the highs, and this time I also like rolled it off a bit so you have the mids a bit more upfront. Then a stereo enhancer again to widen it up a bit, another filter for automation, and then the sidechain of course. And that's pretty much already it for the break. The rest is literally just like effect sounds, white noise sweeps to fill it up and glue it together a bit. As the track comes closer to the drop, I introduce these drums. Then in the build-up, I'm introducing the leads by opening up the low-pass filter. And again, Nexus for these. And And then that's really already it with the break and the build up, you know. The rest really just about automating stuff, you know, like your volumes and filters, you know, low pass filters. Also, you can play with the reverb, open it up a bit more to kind of have a more washed out effect in the build up. Yeah, but that's it. Then in the drop we have the leads open up fully. To also show you the processing of the leads. Got some EQing going on over here. I reduced the lower mids a bit. In this case it was just a bit too much around like the 600 Hz, so I reduced that a bit to give more space to the rest of the elements. When it comes to reverb on my leads, I always have like a certain technique, and for that I use the Fruity P controller and Fruity Reverb 2. What I do is I open up the P controller, and then when you go to your reverb, I right click on the wet signal knob, and then you click on link to controller, and then you have to select the P controller peak in the internal controller, and then just set it to invert. Now as you can see, the wet signal of the reverb is being reduced whenever the leads or your input signal is playing. Now with the volume knob and the bass knob in the P controller, you can select how much you want it to duck and how loud you want it to be when it's not ducking. For the decay time, I usually use something between 3 and 5 seconds because it creates a really nice transition when the leads stop playing. So you have that kind of like fade out at the end. And what else I do is I low cut the reverb quite high. Like in this track I did it at 800 Hz. Like that also depends, it can even be higher sometimes. And yeah, also high cut it at 10k Hz. So in the break we had the piano only for the chords, and in the drop I layered some more sounds to it to fill it up even more. This is what the bass line sounds like in the drop. When it comes to bass lines, it's important to separate your mid basses from your sub bass, because if you leave all your sub frequencies in your mid basses and then you add an additional sub to it, or you have your sub and you add your mid basses to it, you will have a build up in the sub frequencies and it will just muddy up your mix. So make sure you low cut your mid basses well so that they don't interfere with the sub bass. Usually I would just take a sine wave for my sub, but in this case it's actually not a clean sine wave. As you can see, the sub actually has some harmonics to it, so I actually cut it a bit higher than I would usually do. So here, as you can see, this is the low cut for my mid basses. Then the rest is just like filter and volume for automation and the sidechain. Then again, we got these atmospheric sounds that I also use in the break. And then the rest is basically the drums, kick drum, claps and stuff, you know, and a lot of like effect sounds to really fill it up, you know. For the kick drum, I actually use 2 kick samples. I use one for like the clicky part, like, you know, the top kick, and then one for the bottom part. And then with the rest of the effect sounds and the drums, it sounds like that. As you can hear, I added some more background stuff to it, atmospheric sort of sounds. Yeah, so that's already the drop. Then in the second break, I actually dropped out the melody in the beginning, and the rest is just the stuff from the first break. But to keep it interesting and change it up a bit, I added those strings to it. I'm really a big fan of strings, to be honest. They make your track so emotional, so go use strings. And yeah, so the rest is just the stuff from the first break. Then after that, we basically drop kind of into the first break again, with the only difference that this time I used the chords from the drop already in the break, because I feel like it keeps the vibe sort of going, because the chords in the drop are actually more rhythmic than in the first break. In the first break I only use like long sustained notes on the piano, and in the drop I use fast notes following the rhythm of the melody, and then the rest is pretty much the same like in the first build up, you know, the snares, effect sound stuff, uplifters. And then in the second drop, I drop actually to the second half of the first drop, because what I did in the first drop was, in the second half, I introduced that clap on every second kick and added some more background stuff to it. Alright guys, that's already it. I don't know if you could see, but I literally only use like 25 channels on my mixer, so keep your production simple. That's really the key to making music actually. Yeah, so I hope you could learn something from this little tutorial. Maybe it helped you to get a bit inspired for your own production. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a like. Also drop a comment, give me some feedback. I would really appreciate that. And see you next time. Bye.